pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Sue, roll call, please.
Mr. Amaral?
Here.
Mr. Bendigo?
I am here.
Mrs. Cleffel?
Here.
Mrs. Lash?
Here.
Mr. Mole?
Here.
Mr. O'Donnell?
Here.
Mr. Rossi?
Here.
Mrs. Steinke?
Here.
Mr. Wieant?
Here.
1.3, approval of minutes. Entertain a motion
So
for the
move
March
Lash.
24th, for the March 24th, 2025 meeting.
So move Lash. Second Cleffel.
Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll ask for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? We approve it 9-0. 1.4 executive session. The board met in executive session on Monday, April 21st. Following the committee meeting for personnel and legal matters, the board met prior to this meeting on Monday, April 28th for legal issues, and will meet afterwards for additional legal issues. 2.0, reports of the officers and board representatives. 2.1, President David Wall. I know there's just some concerns out in the community as we're looking at some of these. It comes up as reported gas leaks, and we've looked at reported gas leaks. We have gone outside with Vision Mechanical. We've looked at, to the building, we've looked with UGI, and the vast majority of the times when we looked at this, they haven't found any gas leaks that are out there. Like I said, we had Vision Mechanical, which is a well-respected HVAC company that's local, come through and look at everything. But we want our faculty and staff, if they think there's an issue, to say something. We're going to evacuate the buildings. We're going to err on caution of the students and our staff to take them out of the building and then do the investigation to say, was there something or not? And so a lot of times you'll see, there's a reported gas leak, but you won't see the follow-up as saying that there was a gas leak. It was just a reported gas leak. So we're always going to err for making sure that our kids are safe. So I wanted to bring that up. The second thing is, as we go through this time again, we did lose a student here recently, and I would again like to have a moment of silence for our student that passed. Thank you. And that concludes my report. 2.2, Secretary Report, Linda Lash.
No report.
2.3, Berks County IU Board, Linda Lash.
I do have a few things. We extended Dr. Hatman's, who is the head of the IU, we extended her contract, and we also did that earlier in the year, and she'll be starting her next year of service to the board at what was designated in her contract, so there will not be any raise or anything for her moving forward, just what was in the contract. And we also did her evaluation, and through that evaluation of all the board members, we decided to redo the evaluation to make it a little more specific to what she actually does, but she got a glowing review on her evaluation, so that was good. Also, you may have gotten from the IU the nominations for election to the BCIU Board of Directors from all the districts, and there are 5 people that will need to be voted on for a 3-year term. Rebecca DeSaro from Antietam, Brett Sabold from Conrad Weiser, Miguel Vasquez from Muhlenberg, Candace Coral from Ole Valley, and Christopher Heck from Topahawken. These people will expire in June 30th, and every board member is encouraged to vote, and it's a real simple little survey monkey that comes across. So when you see that, please do that so we have a good percentage of our people doing that. I attended the COLA meeting along with Kristen Wallace and Dr. Tashner, and this month's speaker was Heather Barrick from the PSBA, and it was all about the governor's funding. And I like to go to those meetings, but it was a little bit depressing even to go to find out there are districts that are losing money and districts that aren't going to be getting as much as what they thought they were getting. We're lucky that we budgeted the way we did, and we get, I think it's like $59,000 new dollars for next year, something like that. So our share of the governor's budget is just under $60,000 for next year. Also, at our meeting last Thursday night, we got the IU News link, and I had said at the meeting last month that we had a nominee for the Annie Sullivan Award that the IU does, and our district representative for that was Christine Nguyen, and she's a special ed paraprofessional here. And there were 21 different people nominated from all the school districts and the career centers and the IU. And this year's winner was Tracy Miller, who is from Governor Mifflin School District. She's a para educator, and her information is in the news link, and she seems like she was well deserving of this award, so congratulations to her. And we also had an award winner from the IU. Dr. Michelle Reichert-Huff was honored with a 2025 PASPA Distinguished Service Award, which is the Pennsylvania Association of Pupil Services Administrators Award, and it recognizes outstanding leadership and significant contributions to pupil services across the Commonwealth, so congratulations to her. And then I got the legislation for the federal and state. And of course, many of you may know that the United States Department of Education, to the maximum extent appropriate, will be closing down, and the Pell Grants, Title I funding, and resources for students with disabilities will be going to other parts of the government. And then there's a new indoor air quality course available that school districts staff can take to increase knowledge on action in improving indoor air quality in schools. And so that's a federal thing. And then something that's a little depressing for me is that the Head Start federal funding could be eliminated, and that's a big issue for the IU. The IUs in Pennsylvania are responsible for all the Head Start education for our youngest children who need that, and it's a possibility that that funding could be eliminated. And that has been around since the 60s. I think that was a President Johnson initiative, pretty sure. And on top of that, I do have an Head Start audit to attend on May 12th, so maybe we'll find out more about that then. I'm not sure. Then In our own House and Senate, the Democrats now are majority in the Pennsylvania House, and the Republicans are still the majority in the Senate. There was a new election, and a Democrat won, so the Democrats became the majority in the House again. So there are 39 House bills that are on the table. Whether they get moved forward or not, we never know. But something that's near and dear to Berks County, from Representative Cepeda Freites from Berks County. This was providing glasses to help students succeed. The legislation would establish a commission on children's vision to work with vision care professionals in this Commonwealth in developing a statewide plan to provide follow-up vision examinations and glasses to all children who need those examinations and glasses. And then to go with that, Representative Cepeda Freites also has introduced legislation that will require that students receive a vision screening or eye health examination every year. And before school, 4th grade and 8th grade, but now they would receive a comprehensive eye examination or just a screening before that. So, and that would be done by an ophthalmologist or an optometrist. So the House bill, Representative Prokopiak from Bucks County has introduced legislation that would amend the Public School Code of 1949 by adding a section that would read that there would be a moratorium on buildings for cyber charter school. Beginning on the effective date of this subsection, a cyber charter school may not own, purchase, or lease property. This would only take effect after this bill went into effect. And if you look, even in our county, we're getting cyber charters that are taking over rather large buildings. Well, they're not taking them over, I'm sure they're purchasing them, but this has become kind of an issue that they have brick and mortar buildings now, and so and then certification of cyber charter school professional educators, House Bill 1209, Representative Abney from Allegheny County has legislation that will require 100% of all professional staff at cyber charter schools to hold appropriate state certification. And there is some question on whether those teachers are all highly certified. And there's legislation back on the table for updating the Newspaper Advertising Act, House Bill 1291, Representative Freeman from Northampton County, that would amend the Newspaper Advertising Act to expand the definition of newspaper of general circulation to include that the printed newspaper has a website and posts all legal notices and public notices published in print on the website and on the statewide public notice website at no additional cost. If such a newspaper does not exist, the notice could be published in a digital newspaper of general circulation. So that's something that's been going on for quite a while. And then the Senate has a few bills addressing unfunded educational mandates. Senator Phillips Hill from York County says that any legislation, any mandates or legislation should go through, and it should have funding to go behind it. School boards have a lot of unfunded mandates, and this would help if we got some money to go with those mandates. And the Senate and House will both be going back into session on May 5th for both of them. And then we were given, and this will be online for board members, the Berks County Legislative Directory. I think, did you get one of these, Mr. Mull, did you get one of these at?
No, I did not.
I thought maybe you got one at BCTC. It has all of our senators, all of our representatives. It has a map of our county and where everybody is listed. It has all the addresses and phone numbers. And this will be online, from what I understand, that board members can get that online. And Schuylkill Valley is represented by our senator is Chris Gebhardt, Republican. Our House representative is Eric Weeknet, Representative. And our 2 U.S. Congress people are Madeline Dean and Dan Muser. So if you board members would like a copy of that, you can get that online. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Linda. 2.4 Berks Career and Technical Center. A couple things as I point out to our high school administration is to keep on reminding our students to apply as early as possible for the VOTEC programs. They do have typically a substantial wait list to get on to try to get in. They rearranged the numbers that they had for typically you have 3 levels, sophomore, junior, senior, and they've now taken into account kids that, leave a program or whatever to try to maintain a higher balance in our schools. And so I think the number is now all-time high will be 2,150 students are going to be enrolled. Before that, it was around 1,700. So the buildings are going to be fairly stuffed. We did look at a couple programs that we're going to eliminate because of low enrollment. We're also bringing other programs. We're adding other sections. We're doing some construction on the other facilities, both in East, out in Ole, and in West. They continue with the building of homes. For the ones who don't know that, they have a housing development over in East, and they build complete homes. So with the way the housing market has been, it's really been a feather to have the kids being able to learn hands-on in actual buildings. We're in our 3rd and final phase there for that development. So we're looking at other properties, some one-off properties, to see if we want to maybe take something on as well. The other thing that this is the award season, so there's been a lot of awards, and I have it in here, and I'll talk to a little bit more because we have some Schuylkill Valley kids that actually won awards over at the BCTC. But we've had a couple of our kids on HOSA has actually they've won locally, and they're now in nationals. So 2 advanced. We also have, that was first place winners. And then we've also, who excelled in second place was Caitlin Linder, Schuylkill Valley, for nursing assistant. So, we have that. I might, if I missed anybody else, I apologize. We are in the NASA Hunch program, and so for the 2nd year in a row, our kids have developed parts through the precision machining, and the part that they designed this year is going to be launched into the International Space Station in July. So that's pretty cool, and the instructor who was working with that happened to be in Baltimore, Maryland, met Mike Rowe, with the dirtiest jobs. And so he actually got to present a textbook that some of our instructors wrote there, and actually gave one of the flanges that's going up on the International Space Station for the one of the satellites that they're going to orbit is going to go out. So we keep on working hard to try to keep the enrollments up and try to maintain. It's nice that we have this opportunity here in Berks County. But it's getting, again, as more people find it, we've had the highest enrollment that we've had, I think, ever at 2150 or 2155. So that's basically all I have for the BCTC. 2.6 Tax Collection Committee, Nikki Kleffel.
The last meeting was held the end of March. The Herbine and Company does their yearly audit. That has come back clean with no errors. It's neutral, consistent, and clear. And then it was just a basic update of quarterly. They're falling right in line. Some of the goals that they have established going forward is some updates on and adopting some ordinances, rules, and regulations for assessments, collecting all across the taxing jurisdiction, hiring some new staff members to focus on discovery and enforcement, and just following up with businesses who are not in compliance and reviewing additional information from businesses to ensure it's being calculated correctly. That's all for me.
Thank you. 2.6 PA School Boards Association Liaison, Linda Lash.
I don't know if everybody got this, but there is a webinar series that the PSBA is offering for school board members. It's held over the summer. There's several courses: Agree and Disagree, Better Leading with Civil Discourse seminar, National Institute for Civil Discourse webinar, How to Be an Effective School Board Director During Polarized Times webinar, and Communicating and Consensus Building Across the Aisle. And if you would like to attend any of these, you go on my PSBA, and these are part of our membership costs. So I did sign up for one in May. Some of them aren't open for registration yet, so I did check that out. And there's a course that I didn't know if any of our school directors would want to go to this, or any of our staff, but there's a foundational AI course for school leaders, and I think it must, I'm not sure if Dr. Tashner knows about this, but it's a PSBA Institute and Millersville University cooperative course on AI, practical applications and fundamental concepts of AI. It starts June 16th. This is not free. You must pay and register. So if anybody's interested in this, sounds kind of interesting to me. So I don't know if anybody, any of our staff or anybody wants to take that, but it sounds good to me. And that's all I have for that.
Thank you, Linda. And then finally, 2.7 Schuylkill Valley Education Foundation, Linda Lash.
Some of us in here attended the Red and Black event for the foundation, and it was really, really well done. Anybody that went probably thought it was a good time. It was, I think they plan to do it again, right? They plan to do it again in a different venue, I was told. So, so I'm glad they raised some money. Apparently they're looking at using part of that for maybe some scholarships, but I did reach out to Courtney Clay, and she said that the only thing that I would have to report would be that they've just submitted a proposal for their earned income tax credit, and they will be meeting on May 14th to figure out what funds we have available for grants for next year. So that's what I have on that.
Thank you, Linda. 3.0, persons who wish to address the board. Anyone who wishes to address the board will have 3 minutes to state their questions or concerns. Please state your name, where you live. If you have a written statement, the board would appreciate receiving a copy. Verbal comments about staff will not be tolerated, as we have procedures in place to address personnel concerns from the public and staff. Members may not even realize that there's a problem. Per policy 903, at the conclusion of your 3 minutes, we will move on to the next speaker or return to the agenda. I have 3 people that signed up. First one is Lou Schuylkill.
Louis Schucker, Bern Township. Jonathan Haidt spoke The Anxious Generation, How the Great Rewiring of Childhood is Causing an Epidemic of Mental Illness, has been on the bestseller list for over a year. Its central thesis is that between 2010 and 2015, the social lives of teens moved from a play-based childhood to a screen-based one, with the introduction of smartphones resulting in a continuous access to social media. This great rewiring, accompanied by the playing of video games and 24-hour television programming, is the single largest reason for the tidal wave of mental illness that began in the 2010s. The book's longevity on the bestseller list speaks volumes to the concerns of parents, educators, and mental health professionals that the use of cell phones has become an addiction, leading to depression, anxiety, sleep deprivation, and reduced attention spans. Nor is hate a lone wolf howling in the wilderness. The U.S. Surgeon General views periods. Merely banning them during class also creates a war that, frankly, teachers cannot win. But it is clear that banning phones for the entire school day is still not sufficient. The genie has already been let out of the bottle, and moreover, students have access to the phones during the balance of the day. Schools need to increase access to mental health services within the schools. These services should include the summer months, too, for cell phone use doesn't stop in the summer. Schools will also need to train teachers to recognize the symptoms of excessive phone and screen use. A multitude of sources describe the crisis we are facing in schools, and while they cannot be the entire solution, at least schools have a duty not to be part of the problem. Thank you.
Lou, could you just repeat the title of the book? Could you just repeat the title of the book that you're referencing?
Yeah. The Anxious Generation, how the Great Rewiring of Childhood is Causing an Epidemic of Mental Illness.
Thank you.
And the author is Jonathan Haidt, H-A-I-D-T.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lou. Next up is Carol Weant.
Hey, Carol Weant, Bern Township. I've already expressed my serious concerns in prior meetings about the direction this district is headed and that a change is definitely needed. But I want to talk tonight about something positive that was done, but how incredibly poor that communication was in sharing that positive information. So at last month's meeting, the solicitor had like 3 sentences about a memorandum of understanding with the Northern Berks Police and that it was to start sometime that week. Nothing more was said, no explanation as to what that was. So we get to the end of the meeting under the good of the order, and it was brought up about the police action taken during a Byrne Township incident and the bus delays and all that. And Mr. Rossi thanked the police department for how it was handled. Then it was again asked if there was any more good of the order items, and the superintendent did a, by the way, Officer Wood was at the school today and it went great. A lot of kids know him, etc. So the meeting ended, and I was like, what was that all about? Do we have an SRO now? Will there be other officers in the school? And, what exactly is happening? So it was kind of a, oh, by the way, during the good of order with no explanation. So now it turns out that there are officers in the building, supposedly, but students were unaware it was going to happen, and some were actually afraid that day, thinking the police were there because something bad was happening. So let me get this straight. For several meetings after the BB gun incident, parents were demanding something to be done, that we need an SRO or some sort of police presence in the schools, and there were confrontations at board meetings about this very subject. So now you do something, and you can't even communicate that something was done after all the controversy that we didn't have anything like this in place. So I just want you to understand how bad a communication this is, that even when you do something positive and what parents wanted to see done, you can't even communicate that. This was a simple item to update, to tell the parents, to explain to the students, to tell the staff, and yet that simple task wasn't even handled after you knew it was important to many parents in the district. I guess I feel if you can't be trusted to handle these simple communications, how in the world could you be trusted to communicate the complex issues that need to be addressed? This whole problem of the lack of communication needs to be fixed. And I don't think some of you truly understand how fed up parents are of all of this. And again, as I said before, you don't have this many people running for school board if people are happy. Thank you.
Next up is Sally Horton. Thank you.
Sally Horton, Leesport resident and para-educator at the middle school. The Schuylkill Valley School District is failing in its responsibility to meet the needs of many of our students. I see firsthand students struggling with emotional and mental health issues every day. Because none of our buildings have emotional support classrooms, the learning support teachers are forced into that role in addition to all their other responsibilities. When a student has a crisis, the learning support teacher is forced to leave their classroom to manage the situation while the other students lose instructional time. In the past, SV had ES teachers in the buildings, but those positions were eliminated. Why? Many of the IEP students have emotional support needs stated in their IEPs, but they are not receiving the support needed and legally required to be provided by this district. The SV family has tragically suffered losses this year. Mental health is an integral component in our schools. Yet here at SV, we only have one full-time psychologist at the elementary. We previously had one at each building. The middle and high school must rely on an outsourced agency with limited availability. Our guidance counselors have far too many responsibilities hoisted upon them to fully meet the needs of our kids. In addition, years ago, the district employed a full-time behavior specialist. This year, there is an outsourced specialist who provides 9 hours of consultation a week, 9 hours a week for all 3 buildings. This is not acceptable. Our students and staff deserve better. Teachers have been told consultations must be delayed until next year, as there is a waiting list. Behavior issues affect not only student and staff, but also their classmates. The middle school has dealt with an excessive number of behavior issues this year, with no ES teacher, no behavior specialist, or no psychologist to assist. The board needs to be proactive in addressing the needs of our students. Instead, these vital positions are left woefully vacant while additional administrative positions are created and filled. Where is the immediacy in supporting our students? Is this a funding issue? Apparently not. As discussed during last week's board meeting. There are monies for DocuSign, a generous salary for an executive secretary, a $100,000 sound system for the middle school. Dr. Tashner stated that she wants game workers' hourly rate increased from $40 an hour because it's chilly. And let's not forget the $600,000 reading program the board approved. And now there's an assistant superintendent position posted. Meanwhile, paraeducator positions are left unfilled, with 2 more resigning their roles last week. The board needs to ensure administration has their priorities in order. There appears to be a focus on administrative needs, not for those of us in the trenches assisting students on a daily basis. Paraeducator positions are posted for a starting salary of $13.32 per hour, and yet Dr. Tashner is advocating for game workers' wages, not paras whose responsibilities include teaching, reteaching, safety plans, following IEPs, supporting students with behavior and emotional issues, adaptations, communicating with parents, behavior tracking, de-escalation, and on and on. Emotional support teachers in full-time, not outsourced, behavior specialists and psychologists need to be hired and to be our priority. In conclusion, the board must address these issues so our students receive the support to which they are entitled. Thank you.
I'd like to address one issue of that. We've been trying to find a psychologist. It's been difficult to hire. We have asked the teachers union if we can take that position out of their contract so that we can provide a more, robust and attractive package to try to get a psychologist in here. And I don't know that we're making much progress with that request, but we are trying to think outside the box to get some of these positions filled. But I
understand.
I appreciate that you bring this to our attention.
All right, thank you.
Moving on to 4.0, board. 4.1, solicitors report.
Thank you, Mr. Mull. Just briefly, I know we're going to be meeting in executive session. I do have several items to hit on there that can't be discussed in public. I did want to respond, though, to the meeting last month. There were some statements that were made regarding records obtained in response to a recent right-to-know request made regarding the BB gun incident occurring in September. And I just wanted to add a little bit of clarity because I felt like some of the statements maybe confused what was actually produced, and I was involved directly in the production of records in response to that. In particular, there was a statement made that there was a draft that was prepared of a statement by a board member that indicated that the incident was premeditated. That is correct, that was in a draft statement. It was written by a board member less than 48 hours after the event, before the full investigation had been completed. It was not shared with the full board. It was only shared with the board president and vice president. And ultimately, that's not the version that went out because it was determined not to be an accurate recitation of what occurred. So I just wanted to make sure that the public and the board knows that there wasn't any kind of an intent to hide anything or to mislead. It was merely a draft statement that one of the board members voluntarily offered to start to cobble together very quickly after the incident occurred, but ultimately it was not the final version that went out because all the facts were not known at that point in time. And then if I could just add one more thing, there was some questions about the police MOU that was referenced. I did work closely with the solicitor for the commission in putting that together. We put it together very quickly, and essentially beginning as of March, for the entirety of the school day, at least 2 school days per week, we do have a police officer that is around on the grounds, goes to the various buildings, interacts with students, and my understanding is it's been a great program all around. I don't have anything else. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other old or new business under board? Moving on to 5.0, superintendent.
Just a couple of comments before we get into talking about some of the highlights of our students. I do believe that that MOU was done and we received it over the weekend or shortly before, and Dr. Winters actually went and met with every principal so that each principal would know what was happening, and I believe each principal met with their faculty to explain that the officers would be in school. And as I see principals shaking their head, yes, and that occurred so that people would know who was in the building and how often they were going to be in the building. So thank you, Dr. Winters, for taking care of that. And we certainly want to do our best to communicate, and we appreciate the quick turnaround that we did, that was done to put the officers here, and everything that everyone's done to make them feel welcome. I also want to just comment on the school psychologist. We do have 2 positions that have been posted. We have had interviews for those, have not hired someone, but just had another interview last week. That has been something that has been ongoing to try to fill those positions with our own school psychologist, while still making sure that we meet all the deadlines for the permission to evaluate and the permission to reevaluates and the reevaluations that are occurring. That's why we're using, currently why we're using some contracted services until we hire our own people. And we hope that with the interviews that we've had, we hope that that will occur soon. We agree. We would like to have fully staffed psychological services here in the district. I also spent some time meeting with Mrs. Rexroth and I did with the special education team to hear what some of their concerns were. We've talked about them with principals about what the schedule is, how that impacts our paraprofessionals, what we can do to increase the hiring of paraprofessionals. And we've also talked about some of the classrooms and the multidisability classrooms, which are not currently filled by someone, and what we will do to make sure that those positions have someone in them. So we agree. We had a BCBA that was a contracted position in the district prior, and so that is another piece that we've talked about. The BCBA, their job is to oversee those functional behavior assessments, to help our teachers and other special education teachers implement them. And so what support do we need to make that happen? And what kind of behavior technicians need to be in place to support students and give them the best experience that they can have in school? So thank you for those comments. I will tell you, as a superintendent, sometimes we get it right and sometimes we get it wrong. Often it's the case because we're human. We say too much, we say too little, but as someone recently reminded me, it's in times like these that I'm about to talk about, we need to do all we can to make sure we get it right. And so I'd like to take a moment to speak once more about someone who has left a profound mark on this school district in the hearts of so many, and she's here with us tonight, and that's Mrs. G. There are things, of course, that we all know. She's a second grade teacher. But simply to call her a second grade teacher doesn't begin to capture the scope of her impact. She has spent decades of her life giving her heart, her talent, and her time to children, not just when she's in school, but time at home when she was with her family. She was still giving time to school. She has guided hundreds of young learners through some of the most formative years of their education. And of course, we know that K1 and 2 are such formative years. And in doing so, she has touched not just the lives of the students that have come through her classrooms, but every single person in their family. She's been there for the magical moments when a child first truly reads. And if you've seen that, you know how special that is. When a book becomes more than just words on a page, she's been there for that, for hundreds of children. And yes, she cares about math and science too, but especially reading. Under her care, second graders haven't just learned how to write, they've become authors. That kind of transformation doesn't just happen by chance. It's the result of someone who is deeply passionate about children, about literacy, and about the joy of learning. I've personally had the privilege of sitting beside Mrs. G in many meetings on the Language Arts Committee. Her deep understanding of reading and writing instruction, her steadfast commitment to ensuring that our students get the very best, these were clear in our discussions. I watched her stand right here in this room in front of this board, presenting and talking about resources, talking about what the committee had done, and she did so with the same energy and dedication that she has always shown. And that was not a one-time contribution. Mrs. G has been shaping language arts instruction throughout her entire career. If there was a committee for language arts, she reminded me, she's been on it. She was there, voice steady, eyes always on what's best for children. She's lived through the changes and has probably taught every iteration of language arts that has changed dramatically in decades. But she stayed grounded in her belief to children and in the power of education. She stayed focused, developed programs like Ready to Read for the youngest learners when there was nothing there, putting it together so that those children had a place to come to and someone to teach them. And it wasn't just language arts. She's lent her experience, as I said, and her insights into math and science committees as well, because at the core, she's a learner, a lifelong one. And what I've valued personally just as much, though, are the conversations that she and I have shared often outside of the meetings I've just discussed. Not always light or easy, but they were real. We talked about education, the challenges, the triumphs, and whether we agreed or disagreed, we walked away with a mutual respect. And that, too, is something very special. In fact, just this week, I was upset with myself for not having done enough to truly honor Mrs. G at the last meeting, and for being so vague that it gave the appearance that I didn't know Mrs. G, having sat with her through many committees. And so off I went to the elementary school and parked myself on the recess bench, and there we sat to tell her so and to ask her to accept my heartfelt apology. And in that moment, she did what she so often does, and that something we should all do more. She extended grace. It's a rare thing, people extending grace, but not for Mrs. G. She did so quietly, humbly, because that also is who she is. She's always been the kind of teacher who advocates for students and for colleagues, for what's right. She does it without being adversarial, but still advocates. Her care runs deep. I've seen it in action, in discussions. I've seen it year after year as I've been here. I've seen it, how deep her care runs in things like Poetry and Pies, an event that turns our school cafeteria into something out of a storybook bakery, a joyful celebration of reading, fluency, and community. I've seen video footage about the creativity and commitment that happened in our elementary school during virtual learning, when everything we knew about teaching was upended. And as I said, however poorly last week. I'm sure there's a video that exists or will exist, just as there was one that I saw first grade. Because during that time, during that period of virtual learning where everything was new, Mrs. G stepped up, met that with courage and care, just like she always does. She's shown up after hours for events like Girls on the Run, and quite frankly, anything else her students are part of. I've seen her at athletics, not just for elementary, but at the high school, cheering our students on and sometimes cheering the refs on. See, her commitment doesn't end at dismissal. Kathy, you've given so much to this community, more than words can truly say. It's hard to capture in this short period of time. Your legacy is written in the smiles of children who are at this high school who love to read because of you. Your legacy is embraced in the teachers that you've supported and in the countless lives that you've quietly changed. And as you step into retirement, I hope that you will know this. You will always have a place here. Whenever you feel the pull to gather a group on the carpet and read a beautiful book aloud, whether it's indoors, outdoors, our doors and our hearts will always be open to you. And so I want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart for everything that you've done. Join me, please, in a round of applause for Mrs. G, who's here in the back. And, sure.
I don't have words to adequately express how much you mean to our family, and how much you've done for us, and how much you've taught my children. But I just want to say thank you, and you will be missed.
And as I put up some words, some highlights from April from our students, behind these highlights are teachers like Mrs. G, who make these things happen. Guess I went the wrong way here. Okay, let's try this again, Eric. I might have, I'm headed the wrong way here, I think. Can you put that up again for me? See if I can. So, what you're looking at now is Schuylkill Valley Night at the Reading Phils. Fourth grade chorus performed the national anthem. There's nothing more joyful than to hear young children sing. Lots of families there that night. Thank you to all the teachers, to all the families who went to support our students, to our music teachers for making these events happen. We appreciate it. Our students also had Panther Read Night. Schuylkill Valley Elementary School kicked off its Panther Read program. And SVES will be reading Dragons in a Bag as a full school community. And as you can see, there are dragons that abound all over the elementary school. If you haven't got a chance to stop in, I encourage you to do so. Can Structure, our Schuylkill Valley Junior Honor Society won Most Original Design and Most Educational Video in the 2025 Berks Can Structure competition. They were working off the competition theme of Heroes versus Hunger. The Panthers highlighted organizations in Berks who serve as hunger-fighting heroes. This structure's 1,143 cans were then donated to the Helping Harvest. So great job, students, and thank you to everybody that participated in that effort and for all the donations to the Helping Harvest. Our students at the middle school participated in What's So Cool About Manufacturing in the competition, and this is a yearly event for us under the direction of Dr. Liz Schucker. Our 7th grade gifted Panthers won the Outstanding Cool Award for their Shark Tank-inspired video collaboration with Easy Pack. And you can see pretty excited about that event and the award. We're so proud of our students. Ms. Schucker does such a great job in the What's So Cool About Manufacturing event each year. 8th grade had their biography reception. I think we have Mrs. Batson here who is a part of that. Each year, students look forward to this biography reception, and after weeks of preparation, our 8th graders share what they've learned about the subjects. They dress up, they get into character. It's quite an event, great time for students, and a great time for teachers to be able to step back and watch all the effort that they've put into providing the instruction and to see the impact it has had on students. I hope that you were able to join us. The Schuylkill Valley Middle School performed Beauty and the Beast. We talked about it a little bit at the last meeting. It was absolutely tremendous. Mr. Santoro, all of the teachers at the middle school who participated in making sure that this could happen, from costumes to set design. I think we had choreographers, We had Mrs. Moyer, I'm going to forget someone for sure, but Mrs. Seymour, I came and saw on the stage, lots of paintbrushes, everybody working together to make sure that that set looked as beautiful as it did, and the talent was unbelievable. So thank you. Thank you to everyone who participated in that and helped get the musical started. It was the second part of our musical, I guess I'll say, series, because that's a great thing that we have a musical series. Panthers on Parade performed Once Upon a Mattress, and I'm going to tell you that was also outstanding. The administrators were there, they're shaking their heads, but oh my goodness, what talent our students have. We want to thank Mr. Miller, Mrs. McKenzie. We had former teachers that were here in the pit orchestra. It was just an amazing evening, 2 evenings and performances. So thank you to everybody. We can't wait until next year. I think both teachers are already thinking about next year and sets and costumes, and we are also looking forward to it as well. Of course, our Schuylkill Valley FFA have been on the move. The spring regional CDE competition results are in. Small gas engines, the team of Ian Schlopik and Lucas James took second in the county and fifth in the region. Ian also was third in the county, seventh in the region, and Lucas was fourth in the county, 10th in the region. Amazing how our students in the infancy of this program are shining throughout the county and throughout the region. In the livestock judging, Lily Kratz, third in the county, 25th in the region. Autumn Scheffler, 6th in the county, 42nd in the region. And Lucy Kerr, 16th in the county, 87th in the region. Amazing opportunity for our students. If you have never been to one of the FFA competitions, I would highly encourage you to go to see what students have to know, what they have to learn, and the skill set they have to be able to demonstrate in order to be this successful. Our FFA members visited second grade and Schuylkill Valley Community Library for Ag Literacy Week. It is wonderful to see our ag program, to be able to walk down to our elementary school to get them excited about what's happening. And of course, our first grade actually came up to the greenhouse to learn about plants. They also participated in Dairy Leaders of Tomorrow, UPenn Veterinary Science Exploration Experience, and they were shadowing large animal veterinarians for morning rotations, learning about calf care, colostrum testing, nutrition, mastitis. Students practiced a cow physical exam and mastitis culturing. They also attended a career panel and a hospital tour at the Quakertown Veterinary Clinic. Amazing, amazing, amazing what our students are doing in the ag program. We're so proud of all of them, and we're so proud that they're sharing that with our middle school and our elementary students. The FFA also was at the State Legislative Leadership Conference and Fleetwood Bank and Agricultural Appreciation Dinner. The events gave FFA members insight into the agricultural industry from influential people within the industry and government officials. And you can see our senator in the bottom picture. We can see Secretary of Agriculture, who has been with our students on numerous occasions, and the great picture of them all lined up to try to demonstrate the pride in Pennsylvania FFA. Our students came back from the TSA State Leadership Conference. Amazing how many leadership opportunities our students participate in and how well they do. I say that, and yet if you know our students, we forget how hard it is to do so well in these competitions because we have that expectation for our students. Joshua Searfoss, Logan Kunkel, Aiden Schlusser, Coden Chappelle attended with over 1,200 competitors from middle school and high school. They competed in robotics, senior solar sprint, technology bowl, manufacturing prototype, technology problem solving, forensic science, pin design, and flight endurance. And Logan Kunkel was received 7th place for flight endurance. And our senior solar sprint, Josh Searfoss, Logan Kunkel, Aiden Schlusser, and Coden Chappelle were semi-finalists. Amazing job. Thank you to our teachers who also take and support that program. We had the BCIU Secondary Art Show at the Goggle Works, and we had a number of students who placed in that show. Kiera Street was the Berks County Fast Lane Award. Reading Berks Guild of Craftsmen, second place in fine arts. Alicia Rose Jadian, Berks County Fast Lane Award. Isabella Birch, honorable mention in color drawing. Kiera Street, honorable mention in pen and ink drawing. Samantha Davis, first place in mixed media and collage. Jerai Ba, honorable mention in mixed media and collage. Elizabeth Bidding, honorable mention in color photography. And Dylan Kuzan, honorable mention in Noda Art, Reading Berks Guild of Craftsmen, first place in crafts. If you are here for the Super Bowl, if you go and start as early as elementary with Mrs. Stewart at the art show, attend the middle school art show, and stop and see what our high school students, you would not be surprised by this. We have an art program at Schuylkill Valley that is second to none, and so I'm so proud of our students for all they've done in the art program, and for our teachers, Mrs. Harley, Mrs. Seymour, and Mrs. Stewart. Of course, our students also attended the Regional Science Olympiad. 30 high schools, 8 middle schools from Berks, Bucks, Chester, Lehigh, Montgomery, Northumberland, Northampton, and Schuylkill counties. That is a total of 700 students that competed in over 46 different events. The students practice, they study throughout the entire year to prepare for these events, and so we're so excited to see this program continue with Mr. Well at the high school. And I'm also very excited to honor dual enrollment partnership between Schuylkill Valley High School and RAC, which allowed our senior, Taylor Henry, to graduate from college before she has even earned her high school diploma. That is an amazing, amazing accomplishment. So congratulations to Taylor. And of course, you heard Mrs. Lash talk about our nominee for the Annie Sullivan Award, Tina, who also is coaching our bocce team, got that started and did an amazing job. What she does every day for our students, we can't thank her enough, so congratulations to her as well. I also want to take a minute to congratulate our food service director and our food service supervisors. They received a $2,600 check from Giants Roundup at the Register event. Now, I don't know if you know Mrs. Louisa, our food service director, but at every meeting, she would tell us, make sure you round up at the Register, make sure you round up at the Register. And so we want to thank everybody who actually did round up at the Register. Those funds will be used to support the programs that are continuing to be offered by the department. I have to tell you, our food service department and our food service supervisors are doing such an amazing job. They've started food testings, so they create all these new little food tests for students to try. So buffalo, chicken, macaroni and cheese. One of the students once went in and said, I just need the recipe for that so my mom can make it at home. So the kids are really excited about it, and we want to thank them. We have some events coming up in the future to honor our food service workers and our cafeteria workers. So, and thank you for the time, school board, and for everybody for your patience. And again, to Mrs. G for coming tonight.
Thank you, Dr. Tashner. 5-4, anything else for other older new business under superintendent's report? Hearing none, we'll move on to 6-0. As a reminder, all these items have been discussed during our committee meeting that was held last Monday. Asking for consensus to consolidate 6-1 through 6-18. Hearing no objection, I'll ask for a motion.
So moved, Cleffel.
Second.
Second, Bendigo.
Discussion. I just want to echo the retirements and our staff that's moved on. Thank you for your years of service and your assistance over many years, or sometimes just a few years. Just thank you for all your services to the Schuylkill Valley School District.
And I just want to echo what Al said. Mrs. G, you have a special place in our household as well. Olivia loved having you in second grade, so thank you for all that you did to make her love school and love reading. And you're going to be greatly missed.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, I'll ask for the vote for 6-1 through 6-18. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion passes 9-0. 6-19, is there any other old or new business? Hearing none, we'll move on to 7-0, curriculum and technology. Again, we had 4 items, 7-1 through 7-4, that we discussed in committee last week. Agree to consolidate? No objections. I'll ask for a motion for 7-1 through 7-4.
So moved, O'Donnell.
Second, Lash.
Any discussion?
Just one note, 7-4 is, I just was talking about a meeting that we had with special education teachers, and out of that meeting came this pilot request for 2 programs to try regarding that deal with emotional regulation. So just another way to talk about how we continue to work to try to serve children in the best way that we can.
And just a reminder to us, our board, is we have a new secretary, if you do a motion and a second, to say your name as well. She'll eventually get all of our voices down, but so if you can do that. So any other discussion on 7-1 through 7-4?
Yeah, just quickly, I wanted to see with 7-3 if we were able to see if the high school auditorium is available for the 8th grade award ceremony.
I don't have the answer to that yet, but thank you for reminding me again, and we will make sure that we find a way to make that happen. I don't know if Mr. Keener, Dr. Keener, I don't want to put you on the spot, but did you? We didn't check yet. We will check, but thank you.
Thank you.
Any other discussion for 7-1 to 7-4? Hearing none, I'll ask for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. That passes 9-0. 7-5, any other old or new business? Hearing none, we'll move on to 8-0, budget and finance. We have 3 items that we discussed prior, 8-1 through 8-3. Consideration to consolidate. Hearing no objections, I'll entertain a motion for 8-1 through 8-3.
So moved, Clifford.
Second.
O'Donnell.
Thank you. Discussion. Hearing none, I'll ask for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Those items pass 9-0. We have one additional item, 8-4, addendum. BCIU, notice of adoption of approved LEA policies, procedures, and use of funds for IDEA Part B. The board is requested to consider and approve the adoption of the Berks County Intermediate Units policies and procedures under the federal requirements of 34 CFR Part 300. The IU adopted policies are implemented to fulfill the requirements of 22 PA Code Chapter 14 and regulatory requirements under the Individuals with Disabilities Act Disabilities Education Act Part B. Entertain a motion.
So moved, Clifford.
Second.
Second, Lash.
You have your choice there. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll ask for the vote on 8-4. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Passes 9-0. 8-5, any other old or new business for Budget and Finance? Moving on, 9.0, Buildings and Grounds. Again, we have 3 items that we previously discussed, 9.1, 9.2, and 9.3. Consensus to consolidate? Hearing no objections, I'll ask for a motion for 9.1 through 9.3.
So moved. Bendigo.
Thank you.
Second, Clausen.
Thank you. Discussion? Hearing none, I'll ask for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Those items pass 9-0. We have one addendum, repairs to the pump house. The board is requested to consider and approve emergency repairs to the pump house. Entertain a motion.
So moved, Cleffel.
Second, O'Donnell.
Discussion.
Just a reminder, this was the pump house that we have on site, had some motors go down, they needed to be repaired emergently. PDE approved it as an emergency repair, and so that's why we brought it to the board at this time.
And this is our sewer lift station.
When is this going to happen? Like, immediately?
PDE approved the emergency, and so it's happening in shifts. So as the parts come in, they are being installed. So we are still in a better place than we were originally. We're functioning, and we're improving each time new parts come in, but we want to place this on the agenda for the rest of the work.
Is there any threshold on expense for this?
The quote that was provided to the board.
Okay.
Thank you.
So I have a motion and a second. Any other questions? Hearing none, I'll ask for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. That passes 9-0. 9.5, other old or new business.
We have tonight, Harry Petoni from Schrader Group is here tonight to give a presentation on the field house.
Thank you. The clicker's up front.
Maybe you have better luck with it than I have.
I got less than really.
That's good, I did.
Good evening, everyone.
How you doing?
Good evening.
Doing well. Nice to see you. I don't know what that is. Can the square go away?
Mike, you might want to come up.
Just follow tracking. Okay. There you go. There you go. I think. Okay. So good evening. Wanted to start, thanks for having us. Schrader Group was initially brought in sometime in the fall of '24 to begin to look at the athletic facility project again for the district. So I wanted to go through an update for board members that have not seen the project, and also the community as a whole, what the district is looking to accomplish. So, yeah, let's see, maybe you can, okay, slowly going. So we started out, and what we'll talk about a little bit this evening, some of the existing information. The project has been around, I understand, for some time now in the district, and being considered for the campus and the students and the community. We have begun to develop 2 concept designs in working with staff and a couple of the board members that are part of the facility committee. We'll talk about some similar projects and then also a schedule moving forward. Yeah, it's not going, it's just going to those 2 slides. You could continue. So initially, as I said, the project was looked at prior and kind of what to include as a type of indoor athletic complex to support the entire campus as a whole. So if you advance to the next slide. There was a program that was put together of initial thoughts of what to include in the project. So we worked with this program initially. That was approximately a 30,000 square foot building. And we were tasked with looking at various site options on campus, 3 specific. You could see kind of Plan South, location 1, which is directly east of the existing ticket booth parking lot. There's a little storage building that sits existing off to the east side of that parking lot. The other site location that was considered was on the east end, and I'm referencing kind of Plan North on the top of the screen. So Plan East, where the current track and field, some of the current track and field events sit, and we'll talk about that a little further as I go on. And then the third option on the site was kind of that north end of the stadium, and could a building of this kind fit, in that footprint. Our initial kind of pass at this, once we took the program and started designing, looking at the various site features, we strongly suggested and have landed on site option 1 and locating this facility in that southeast corner of the site, just off the stadium, in that just east of the ticket booth. If you advance. We have looked at several precedents, some in the area, some that we brought to the table with our experience. There were tours that were taken with the administration and a couple of the board members to a couple locations locally. One of the things that was talked about as part of the program was providing an indoor track along with the competition gymnasium. And there was some initial thoughts of creating an elevated track. Our experience in working with these projects and working with several building types, these create several challenges and also some additional cost. So we wanted to consider some options to mitigate the cost and still provide the feature of an indoor track that could be used. So it's a flexible, this is a flexible facility that you're looking at for really every athletic, I guess you could consider, except for swimming or ice skating, could really play in this type of facility. I'll talk a little bit more about the features as I go on. If you advance to the next slide. One of the things that during the tours, and we had discussions about how we could bring kind of the indoor-outdoor environment into play, and could the facility open up to the existing, outdoor existing stadium, as well tie into the indoor type facility. So these were just some precedents that we looked at as we started our design and pass of the project. If you could advance to the next slide. So I mentioned that at this point we've considered two program options. If you start with the next slide, please. As I mentioned, we landed on that site location in the southeast, that southeast quadrant of the existing site. One of the features relative to that, and if you're familiar with what's out there, there's some of the track events. There's a long jump, triple jump, are down in that corner. So those would have to be relocated somewhere within the perimeter of the entire complex. If you advance to the next slide. Go ahead, you could continue. So just some features to familiarize your site of where I'm talking about. I don't know if you could, yeah, you could stop right there for a second. That corner, there are some, as I mentioned, those existing track features. There's also some sheds out there, and there was some most recent discussion is what do we do with the sheds? How do we accommodate some of that outdoor storage in a facility like this? So we had to consider some of those options as we were planning this project. So continue, next slide. So this was our first pass of version 1. The green area that was included in the first area is a indoor turf field. It's a 30-yard by 50-yard turf field. The gray box up towards the top is that exterior storage. So the thought would be to, remove the sheds from the site and bring that into the building project. The orange area is your competition gymnasium. If you were to kind of look closely, and you would see the overlay of the 3-lane track around the perimeter of the court. There are some bleachers. It would accommodate. Right now, from a planning standpoint, you have about 150 to 200 seats along that left side of the competition gym. The dark blue area is about a 3,000 square foot weight room, comparable to what you have now. For those of you who had done some of the tours, we had considered something along the lines of the Governor Mifflin project that you saw. So nice size weight room. Just moving up to the top of the plan, and we've had moved several versions around and flipping the different components of the program. But the upper area, the upper left quadrant, is both an indoor and outdoor concession space. That's flanked by 2 locker rooms to accommodate at least 50 players, staff, coaches room. And then the blue area is a training room for the entire complex. All the spaces, are accessible both from inside the building and outside the building. And with multiple events, the building can be used. If there was just one event, the building can be, the interior of the building can be locked down, still providing access for your toilet rooms, the trainer and concession. And then that kind of, I don't know, people always question my colors, but that turquoise color to the left, that's all public toilets that would become part of the complex. We position the building to kind of create that plaza, that outdoor plaza. So there's fence lines, there's security around the entire kind of top half of the building that ties to the stadium, ties to the public, and ties to the students using it and going out on the field. In these renditions, and you'll see a similar one shortly, we are proposing to keep the existing ticket booth. And we could talk about that a little further. So in this option, if you remember back to the original program that was presented, adding the features, a couple more of the program elements from the original program, we're sitting at about just under 39,000 square feet for the building. If If you advance. I have to remember these numbers, sorry, I can't see that far, but.
Henry, does that includes, am I correct in this version includes the increase in the coach's room in the lockers?
Yes.
And 100 football-sized lockers in each team room for up
Yes,
to
right.
100?
Yeah, they're half heights. We could get.
Half heights, 100 half heights.
100 half heights in each, that's
Okay.
correct. So the version 1 option, kind of from a budget standpoint, and we've taken a close look at the budget, even at a schematic conceptual level, we're sitting at about 18.7 million. That's all in. That's what we'll call bricks and sticks building, approximately 15 million, and then your site costs and your soft costs, along with contingencies at this point, very cognizant of, what the market's doing. So we have allotted for some fluctuation and escalation in all our numbers. You could advance to the next slide.
And does that include the relocation of the track and field events and the junior high softball field in that price?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'll touch on that as I work through the second option. So you could advance to the, keep going. So there's that. So the only difference with the second option and the second version was the increase in size of the field. There was discussion taken off from the first version of increasing the size of the field to a 40-yard by 50-yard indoor turf field. Gives you about a half a football field to work with. That increased the square footage. Aside from that, the program remained intact. Same weight room, same competition gym, really same footprint, with the exception of the expanded turf field. So that does increase the size of the square feet as well, and you'll see it would increase the size of, increase the budget of the project. You could continue there. So just kind of some images as we've been developing the project. Basically, it's two separate buildings. You don't need the height of the turf side of the building as you would for the competition gym. And ultimately, in designing the competition gym volleyball, the height of volleyball really sets the height of that for meet PIAA regulations. If you advance to the next slide. So it gives you an idea, just again, kind of where the building sits. That white box in that quadrant, just to the south of that is that existing storage building. As I spoke early on, you could see where the existing track events, the javelin, and the lower level field, that really drops off to the road there. So it really would have set the building too low in elevation with the rest of, the height of the stadium and the grade. That backside, and what Dr. Tashner just mentioned, that existing softball field would have to be relocated. And one of the things we're looking at right now is where to put it. We've had some initial discussions of relocating the softball field down to where the other one is, just south of the existing tennis courts. If you advance to the next slide. We were able to uncover the most recent site plan from when the stadium was done. There were thoughts at that time of putting the building down in that quadrant where we have it. If you look to the kind of north of the plan of the stadium, you begin to see where we would look to place the track events, those jump pits. The building fits in there. It gets a little tight against, you'll see to the javelin throw. And that is the increased size of the turf field. That's the 40-yard field imposed on the site plan at this point. If you go to the next slide. So just some images. We started creating some visualizations of what this would really look like. You begin to see the plaza, the white box off to the left, that ticket booth, really ties, right in with the bleachers in the stadium itself. We have to be cognizant of the lighting. There's been a lot of discussion about the light pole. There's a light pole that sits right in the plaza to the right of the bleachers. If you advance to the next slide. Just an image, there was discussion of how we want to approach the building from the high school. So that kind of glass corner box is the entry off the parking lot. You're seeing this side to the right is the existing storage building, and you see how the weight room begins to project out. If you go to the next slide. Just another image, kind of where we're starting to walk around the building. You begin to see the bleachers in the background. So that's that entrance again, and fence lines, some security, how you would still be getting in from the ticket booth into the complex, or you would be going into the building through the entrance. If you could continue around. Again, kind of I'm swinging right around the building. You begin to see entrance into the public toilets, as well as storage. There's indoor and outdoor storage on that side of the building. If you could continue around. So that's you begin to see the plaza. This corner, I'll say closest to you, is the corner of the outdoor concession entrance into both team rooms. In the middle would be your entrance going into the training room, and then you start to see the indoor turf field in the background and how that would play. Remember those precedents that I showed you initially to kind of tie the indoor-outdoor complex together. Continue around. Just a kind of image then looking from the track back to the building, that outdoor storage area, that sort of red box, and then kind of head on to the training room and into the locker rooms. Continue, next slide. So as I mentioned, we ran through a budget. One thing again, relative to the site and the numbers that we're presenting, yes, would include the relocation of the softball field, of the track events. We did not include any numbers for any improvements underneath the bleachers or the relocation of the ticket booth at this point. So if you continue further, you could go to one more slide. So the increased square footage, as I mentioned, does raise the budget a little bit. All in, you're looking somewhere around the 20.3 million. It is a larger building with the same program. That's all in. As I said, bricks and sticks, the site. We spent a bunch of time looking at the site to verify those numbers. Feel pretty comfortable. Work with our civil engineer. We could get to that number that we've included in for site development, and also have some contingency and escalation built into there. Advance to the next slide. So one thing just to, I guess, note, and maybe could have bored you a little bit, these are projects we've successfully have completed in the area. around the Commonwealth. Advance to the next slide. I'll run through these real quick. These are, and one of, I guess, the mainstays of this project, we are looking at a pre-engineered building structure. This is one we just completed in Malvern not too long ago. Advance to the next slide. It is a pre-engineered metal building, competition gymnasium, seating at about a little more, closer to like 300-400 seats in this one. But again, really the focus was the competition gym. Another one we've done it as, you could advance through these. I mean, you really could put anything in these types of buildings. They're pre-engineered, they're very flexible to allow multiple events. They were done as tennis courts. I'm sure most of us have played in here. You could advance to the next slide. Larger scale project, working with a school district up north. This is something that's 3 times the size. It's about 120,000 square feet. Full football-sized field on the roof with a competition gym. You could advance through these pretty quick, I would. But you could kind of see just the scale of a type of project like this. All the same features, all the same program, turf, a hard court, support facilities, training room, and lastly, I think as several of you have been over to Governor Mifflin's, different type of facility, but all the same features. You have turf, you have gym, you have athletic, basketball type facility. Lastly, relative to schedule, so we're at a schematic design phase right now. Beginning to tie in consulting engineers, looking at the structure, the site, the land development. We'll start looking at systems. So we're in that April time phase right now. We'll take that into the summer months. Design development will take us into September. Construction documents by the end of the year. And really the duration is going to ultimately be driven by the land development process. Our conservation district dealing with stormwater management. So we have a long way to go. And with the hope of bidding the project sometime towards the end of the year. I would open it up to questions. Yes, sir.
I know that some pre-engineered buildings are certain different sizes that are more mass-produced versus structural numbers and others. Are you trying to focus on sticking with more mass-produced to try to get cost savings? I work in construction, and I know that 12-inch pipe is cheaper than 10-inch pipe,
right?
Just because they make more of it.
Yep.
And I assume similar situation.
Yeah, similar. And one of the biggest things that we've learned with them is keeping kind of standards, not turning a lot of corners.
Right.
So that was one of the things that we created, kind of the 2 boxes, and worked from there. I think is very important. Where you have to watch is all the extra features of one of those buildings. How are you cladding the building? What are you putting on the exterior? That's where the numbers really, start. Are you putting a 2-foot brick shelf water course? Are you putting a 5-foot, masonry water course? But we're doing everything we can to work within the module of the pre-engineered building.
Thank you for your time.
Great. Thank you.
I do. I just dropped it in the, oh, I don't have that one. No, I don't have that. I have just 2 slides, I think. If you send that to me, I'll share it with the board. Okay, that'd be great, thank you.
Anything else for 9.5? Hearing none, we'll move to 10.0. Again, we've discussed items 10.1 through 10.7. So without objection, I'll consolidate.
David, the student code of conduct for the middle school, which, is that 10.2 or 10.3?
10.3.
10.3. Could you do that one separate?
Okay. So we'll do 10.1, 10.2, 10.4, 10.5, 10.6, and 10.7. I'll entertain a motion.
So move, Cliffel.
Second.
O'Donnell.
Discussion on 10.1, 10.2, 10.4, 5, 6, and 7.
I'd just like to say thank you to our German teacher, Mrs. Alder, for sending her tour for 2026. And I hope she can get the amount of students she needs to have her own tour. But she seems so confident when she talks about these things, and it sounds so much fun. I know my daughter did this when she was in 10th grade, and she had a wonderful time. And I think it'd be great to go visit places with her. So I'm so glad we have this opportunity again for our kids to do
Yeah, it's 2027, because they'll have 2 years. 2 years.
2027.
You had it right the first time, 2 years to get their funding. Any other discussion? Hearing none, I'll ask for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. That passes 9-0. So moving back to 10.3, Schuylkill Valley Middle School Code of Conduct for 25-26. I'll entertain a motion.
So moved. Bendigo.
Second.
Second, Rossi.
Discussion.
Reading through here, I had some questions on the drop-off times for students that are being dropped off by the parents and the schedule times that are posted. So I think I'd like to get some clarifications on that, if we could table this until next month and get those items defined better to match up with, I think, what's actually occurring.
Did you hear that, Mr. Keener? Dr. Keener, I should say, excuse me.
Is that going to interfere with getting agendas printed for next year if we wait a whole month?
Dr. Keener shaking his head no.
Okay. Just want to make sure, because I know that there's a turnaround on those.
So we're going to table 10.3. Need to have a...
You need a motion and a second.
Yep.
Yep. You don't need discussion on the motion to table,
No.
but you can.
So I'll entertain a motion to table 10.3.
So move, Cliffel.
Second.
Second, Bendigo.
All those, we don't have to have discussion since we've talked about it. All those in favor signify by saying aye to table 10.3. Aye. Opposed? It's tabled. We do have 2 addendums. I'm going to take them separately. 1011 addendum waiver of expulsion student 2863. The committee is requesting consider and recommend approval of waiver of expulsion hearing release agreement between the Schuylkill Valley School District and parents of student 2863. I'll entertain a motion.
So move, Lash.
Second.
Second, Rossi.
Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll ask for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. That passes 9-0. 10-9, waiver expulsion, student number 5304. The committee is requested to consider and recommend the approval of waiver of expulsion hearing release agreement between Schuylkill Valley School District and parents of student 5304. I'll entertain a motion.
So moved, Cleffel.
Second.
O'Donnell.
Discussion. Hearing none, I'll ask for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Passes 9-0. 10-10, any other old or new business?
We have a follow-up presentation on attendance from Dr. Brewer. And here's the clicker. May you have better success with it than we've all had.
All right, well, good evening, everybody. I'm back this evening to revisit a couple of questions that came up at the last meeting regarding attendance, and also provide an update to the board regarding work we're presently doing with attendance and its ongoing work. So with any luck. So what I did is I didn't create a new PowerPoint. I more or less took the one that I had presented last time, and I made some edits to it to clarify some things, and then I added a couple of slides at the end. So I'm going to, well, maybe I am going to. Oh, there we go. Okay. So I'm going to you've seen all of this before, definitions on compulsory, all these pieces. But I'm going to go to the letters, and this was a question that Mrs. Steinke had asked me regarding our letters, and I think the question was largely why are some of the families that are contacting me getting letters? I was wrong with some of the information in the letters, and I just wanted to circle back to them. So at present, we have a 3-day warning letter that we are obligated by law to send whenever a child reaches 3 days of unexcused or unlawful absence. Those can be cumulative days, they can be, non-consecutive days, but that letter must go. We also happen to have a first and second day letter that we as a team have been discussing. I don't want to get ahead of myself, but we are entertaining sending these first and second day letters for unlawful absences. So we do have all 3 of those letters in our possession and have been working on them, but it's the 3-day letter that we must send. I had made an error in talking about the 5-day letter and the 10-day letter. So the 5-day letter, while not required by school board policy or school code, is a letter that we send when a student reaches 5 days of cumulative lawful and or unlawful absence. So they could have, 4 lawful days and an unlawful day. They could have 3 unlawful days and 2 lawful days, but that letter is generated by Schuylkill Valley. And I think, the overarching purpose there is just to make sure we're keeping parents in the loop around the attendance patterns that are beginning to develop potentially for a student. The 10-day letter is a letter that we send to parents when a student has accumulated a total of 10 lawful absences that are parent verified. And this letter's purpose is really to let that parent know that they have now met that threshold where any subsequent absences that they would like excused would have to be done so by a medical professional. Again, this letter is not required by either school board policy or school code. Okay, so those are the letters that we presently send. Jumping ahead a couple of additional slides. This goes to Mr. Bendigo's question around a section of policy 204, page 2, under delegation of responsibility, when it's referencing something called community-based attendance improvement programs. Those community-based attendance programs, if you recall, there's a part in the process where we can begin to refer attendance matters to a community-based attendance improvement program. And that partnership is presently through SAM Crisis, Service Access and Management, and it's their attendance elimination protocol process. So we can refer there. So that's what that's referring to. And I could have also added here that when we also talk about school-based attendance mitigation measures, it could include our SAP process. So we have a SAP process, our Student Assistance Program, where we refer students for a wide variety of things, but attendance can be one of those reasons. I will say right now, I don't believe that we have any specific triggers for when attendance concerns can trigger a SAP referral, but it certainly can be something that we do refer to that school-based measure. And then also, Mr. Moll, you had asked about meetings, and I would say that while the assistant principals and myself have not been regularly on a monthly assigned time meeting to discuss attendance, we do meet regularly, and we do check in regularly. And I think that has been exacerbated this year by, I think, a deeper dive into some of the attendance consequences that we've seen for some of our students, especially students with IEPs, students with 504 agreements, and also for students whose attendance begins to accelerate, or attendance concerns. I will be looking to reinstate more regular meetings with the assistant principals for the express purposes of attendance, because I do agree that it is a very important part of what we are doing on a regular basis as it pertains to administration, and I think it does require that regular look. But I'm confident also in saying, though, that the assistant principals and myself are in close contact around attendance concerns, and they are all managing them very well at their building levels with their secretaries.
Sorry to interrupt you, but so what's your current frequency of these meetings, and what's your proposed frequency?
My proposed would be to return to monthly meetings for attendance. I would say right now we are meeting probably closer to every 6 to 8 weeks, or as needs arise. And so I regularly will be checking in with the assistant principals, especially if I learn that a matter is getting concerning, or if they are gleaning that matters are getting concerning.
So if you're at 8 weeks and you're talking about only like 4, it's like 4 meetings or 5 meetings a year, versus if you're at 6 weeks, that's like 6 meetings a year, I'm just concerned.
No, I would agree. I think a monthly meeting is ideal. Like I said, last year, the assistant principals and I were meeting a little more regularly for all matters as it pertains to their role as an assistant principal. There's been some shifts in responsibilities around that, but I would agree that the attendance pieces do need that more regular look.
I would even think probably maybe even more frequently than, sorry everybody out there, more than even monthly, because you want to try to catch this sooner than later. And if you're waiting, you only meet every other month, or if you have a delay, you're out. I don't say biweekly, but maybe every 3rd week or something like that, to try to get a little bit more frequent out there, because you're hitting those 3, 5, 10-day thresholds. You can hit those before you have a meeting. And so, and then do you have built into your process something to occur that you don't want to wait for a monthly, you don't want to wait for the regularly scheduled meeting? Do you have something in your process to say, hey, if we have something going on, we need to set up an ad hoc meeting or something? So I'm not trying to tell you to do, I'm just trying to understand.
No. But two things that I'm thinking about. The first thing is that and I think this is, we want to make sure we're focusing our attention on this too. The assistant principals are regularly in their buildings with their secretaries, working and looking at their attendance on a weekly basis. I think is a fair statement. I'm getting the nods. So they are already going through that exercise. My additional look on it would be to potentially draw our attention toward other questions we could ask. And if you recall from our previous meeting, we have crafted a document and have provided guidance for the various types of students in the school population, from children who have IEPs or 504 agreements, or may just be a regular education student whose absences are getting chronic, where we have sort of triggers, if you will, for certain numbers of days of absence that would then cause an assistant principal to do this or ask these questions. So let's just use an example, and I'm just throwing one out here. Let's say that a student with a 504 agreement, for example, reaches 15 days of absence. That is going to cause that assistant principal to ask a couple questions around, what are the barriers? Why are they not getting to school? Do we need to reconvene the 504 team? Do I need to notify Dr. Brewer? Do we need to put other things in place? So we've put those things in place. So while my regular meetings meeting with them certainly can happen more regularly and more frequently, and that's certainly open to that. They have a look at this regularly on their own. They aren't looking at attendance once a month, I guess is my larger point.
That's fine. I'm just taking it from a governance, not as, I'm not into the weeds and telling you, hey, you need to meet. That's up to you to figure it out. I'm just pointing out as you've explained some of the other metrics and some of the other concerns of how we report out, just to try to make sure that the process as you have designed is as robust as it needs to be.
Certainly.
And just as a governance point of view, like I said, you guys are the experts, you guys figure it out, but, just looking from a high down, I'm happy, I appreciate, ladies, all the efforts that you guys are looking at that. I just know we've had some issues in attendance and some gaps, and I just want to make sure, what can we do to put some structure in place to help you out, to help our students out, to make sure they get what they need.
Certainly. Well, and the regular look is very important, so.
I have.
Go ahead.
I have a question. When a student, through their IEP or 504 or whatever, requires online learning at home, but they're still our student, how do you know when they're in class, and how does that? I'm sure there's a way. I'm just not really familiar with that, and if you could just go over that.
I think I can speak fairly generally to that, thinking about some examples in my mind. The value or the benefit of moving a student who's having perhaps regular attendance concerns due to a medical issue or a disability under 504, as an example, moving them to a virtual platform gives them that flexibility with the asynchronous nature of that platform. So in using one of the platforms that I am overseeing this year, I'm able to go in there and I can see minutes logged per day for every class that the student is enrolled in. I can also see progress toward course completion. I can see grades, and so both matter because, a student could have, an A with 3 assignments done, but that's not a good thing if they should have 55 assignments done. So it's really looking at all those things. But I think the asynchronous nature of the online platforms that we're involved in, or I've been involved with, allows that flexibility that helps the student then achieve academically.
Thank you.
Do you have a question, Mr. Bendigo?
So are the letters generated when the threshold is made?
Correct.
Okay.
They are automatically generated. Okay. So if I could jump ahead then to a couple of slides at the end here. Just some next steps since March of 2025. I'm sorry, I'm going back a year. I apologize. We convened a meeting with our assistant principals and partnered with Dr. Tashner. We, at that first meeting, we did a deeper dive into our board policy 204 for administrative recommended changes. We've not made any of those recommendations yet because we're still working toward that or through that. The team reviewed the policy and discussed possible changes. We also are going to be obtaining through Dr. Tashner the policy recommendations, the most current policy recommendations from PSBA, as well as AR exemplars, because we do have ARs that accompany our policy, but we did uncover that we've got some work to do with some of those ARs as well. In addition, we spent, at that particular meeting, this first follow-up meeting, we spent a significant amount of time reviewing the language in the letters that are available for the 1, 2, and 3-day unlawful letters, because what we decided is that we really want to have that congruence among all of the buildings so that the letters sound the same, and it is the same information whether you're talking about a 2nd grader, an 8th grader, or a junior. And again, while we are only required to send a 3-day letter, the team recommends sending the 1-day and the 2 letters as well to, again, keep that early communication with families around attendance concerns. Some other things, additional next steps, we held that meeting on, we have a meeting coming up, I'm sorry, I'm stuck on 2024, I apologize. We have a meeting coming up this Wednesday, again, to continue to review policy 204 for other recommended changes. We did start that discussion earlier in April. We are going to review an updated, a new AR 204-0, and this is the AR that really kind of takes the policy and provides us with a little more clear process. We're going to confirm our notification plan per letter for the 25-26 school year. This is where we're going to talk about, again, the 1-day, the 2-day, the 3-day letter, and additional letters that we might consider utilizing. I'm working on developing an attendance flow chart with language that's specific to Schuylkill Valley School District policy and ARs. That will just be another tool our administrators can use. And then, again, confirming this letter verbiage for the 1-day, the 2-day, and the 3-day letter, which we've already decided we want to use with families consistently across the district next year. I did review the new AR. It does also reference 4-day and 5-day letters, which I think we're going to have a conversation about as to whether those are letters we want to include. Again, recall that an AR is something that we can modify to meet the needs that we feel we have for the district, in line with board policy, of course, but whether we want to use those 4-day and 5-day letters or not is another conversation. We are also taking a look at the invitation to the School Attendance Improvement Conference, the SAIC, to develop that School Attendance Improvement Plan, the SAIP, at 4 days of unlawful absence or more. The habitually truant letter is another letter that we could consider sending. That's at 6+ days of unlawful absence. And then another thing that we have talked about, and again, none of those letters are board required, but the chronically absent letter, we talked a little bit about that previously. Students who are reaching that 10% threshold of missed school days fall into that category of chronically absent, and is it worth sending that letter also when students meet that threshold to, again, have that conversation with parents about, emphasizing the importance of attendance, certainly never minimizing what might keep a child out of school, especially if it's an illness, but, thinking a little bit more about that. And then I think the last thing we have to talk about is our educational travel provisions that we have referenced in school board policy as well. So those are some additional steps that we are continuing to work on. I don't think we're finished. I think we've got more work to do, but that's just the next step that we're going to be looking at on Wednesday. And I think that's all I have. Yep. What questions, any other questions do you have for me?
Could you explain to me again what trips the 1-, 2-, and 3-day letter?
So the 1-day letter is tripped by one unlawful absence. So if a parent does not turn in an excuse note in the time provided, that absence becomes unlawful. That trips that first letter.
Okay. And then the 2-day would be?
It's the same thing. If we don't get an excuse note for that 2nd day of absence in the time frame allotted, that then would trip the 2nd day letter.
So basically I guess my question, if they have one unlawful 1 day and then unlawful the next day, are they getting 2 letters, or you're just getting 1 letter on 2 days, or?
I hear you. Yeah, we discussed that, and we decided that we would send all 3. So if you have a student who is out consistently for 3 days and they then become unlawful because they did not turn the notes in on time, they would get all 3 letters.
So the first letter would be, you've been absent 1 unlawful day. The next day you get a letter, you've been absent 2 unlawful days, and then the 3rd. Okay, got it.
Yep.
Is there any detriment to the parent anymore if they have a whole lot of unlawful and unexcused absence? I mean, there was a time where the parent could be incarcerated for this, but I know that has changed. So what is the parent's legal, what can they do with parents?
So actually, the habitually truant letter that we are presently not sending out, but we could consider sending out, does specify that, and there are guidelines around what consequences a parent could realize as a result of their child being habitually truant or having that number of unexcused absences. I mean, I think it runs the gamut from fines to community service. Sometimes those consequences are put in the name of the student if the parent asserts that they've done everything that they can to get the child to school and they're choosing not to go. But I could certainly come back and give you those.
I just
but there are consequences.
Because it was rather dramatic there, and then I really haven't heard what can happen to you now, so thank you.
Yep. Questions? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you. Under 1010, is there any other old or new business?
I do have something. It was brought to my attention that at prom, it's on. It was brought to my attention at prom that we had some students that had some allergies, and I guess it wasn't communicated to the people who were, running prom. So we had some fabulous teachers that went and got special food for students. But is there any procedure that we can put into place? Because from the explanation I received from the parent, if the student is not in a teacher's classroom, they don't have the allergy information. So the people who are running the prom may not have all of the students who are attending prom in their classrooms to get that allergy information, so that we don't have something like this happen again. Because, again, our teachers handled it fabulously. They went to the store on their own, got what was needed so that that student still had something to eat at prom. But just so that we don't have something like this happen and we're not scrambling to make sure that all of our students who pay for their prom tickets are fed and taken care of.
Mrs. Godfrey, could you jot a note and kind of check out what happened, and then in May, kind of come back with a little plan by which we could make an adjustment for next year so that there'd be an option for students to say if they have an allergy when they order their ticket? Thank you.
And that might be relevant for any other event that we have, that we service food for, that we host, that we kind of carry that through. I mean, the students, hopefully as they matriculate up into the higher grades, they're aware of it, but it'd be probably a good idea to have food allergies listed. Anything else under 1010?
Dr. Keener, were the follow-up on, did the teachers who assisted in the musical, have they all been paid?
No, we said that we would have that
for May? Okay, thank you.
And you have the list of what you need, or, because I think it's not 3, I'm hearing 5 or 6 or something. Just, that, how numbers go. So I'm sure you know who to contact, so, but they decided determined to contact me as well, so. Okay, anything else for 1010? Hearing none. 11:0, any other business go to the order?
I have 2 quick things, if I could. I'll make it fast. I know everybody's here late, and I appreciate everyone that's here. 2 things, just to keep in mind. We as a board and administration go through every detail of this budget and district very tediously. So I don't want it to be oversighted that one expense supersedes another. So things that we put into this district are for the good of the entire district. So I don't want it to be thought that just because we spend money here, we are not considering another area. That being said, I will leave that there. On another note, I would be remiss if I did not express some exceptional information I heard from a gentleman I was working with. He's a mortgage broker, very well, he's a very good mortgage broker. And he made the statement to me that he tours different school districts and gives information on budgeting and finances and et cetera. Didn't know who I was or where I have children attending and where I'm from. Said, I have to tell you, because the person was moving into the district, that Schuylkill Valley is one of the best districts he's ever attended. He said our children are so well behaved and very respectful. So for that, and our teachers and administrators have always been kind and accommodating to him. So on that note, I wanted to give accolades to our staff, our students, and our administration. So he didn't know me from Harry, so I felt that it was very necessary to give those praises where they were due. So thank you.
Thanks, Harry.
I just have a question. When are we going to recognize our athletes who have excelled this year? Is that coming up next month or June or when?
There'll be two option times. One will be at the May board meeting when we recognize special track and field athletes, so we'll be doing all of that. And we are also having our end of season athletic awards banquet, and I think that is in May, I want to say around the 14th. So that is coming up. That date has been set as well. And we have someone that will be having their name placed on the 100 wins in the gym, so we'll be unveiling all of that at that time.
I was thinking about swimming too, so I...
Yes, our swimmers, along with wrestling. Yes,
like
so
that,
May.
so- Well, I was... Okay, thank you, I appreciate that.
Thank you. Anything else for other business? Go to the order. Hearing none. 12:00, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move Cleffel.
Second, Steinke.
Thank you. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye.